You're standing on stage, about to perform the solo you've been perfecting for months. You open your mouth to sing, and nothing comes out. Complete silence. The judges stare at you in confusion, while your teacher refuses to even look at you. That's exactly what happened to me when my choir director forced me to compete with laryngitis. But what he didn't know was that I'd spend the next year planning the most beautiful revenge, one that would end his entire career. If you've ever had a teacher or authority figure who abused their power and humiliated you, you're going to love this story. Hit that like button. Subscribe for more satisfying revenge tales, and get ready to hear how one high school student turned public humiliation into the sweetest career-ending payback. Let me take you back to Texas in the early 2000s, when flip phones were cutting-edge technology and high school choir was serious business. I mean serious business. In Texas, we don't mess around when it comes to music education. The competition is fierce, the standards are impossibly high, and your choir director's reputation lives or dies based on how well their students perform. I was 16 years old, and if I'm being completely honest, I was kind of a doormat. I rarely stood up for myself, always tried to please everyone, and avoided conflict like the plague. But there was one thing that I was absolutely, unshakably confident about. My voice. I wasn't just good at singing. I was exceptional. I'd earned my place in the top choir at our school, which in Texas is like making varsity football anywhere else. Every competition, every solo and ensemble event, every UIL contest, I consistently placed in the top 5, usually snagging second or third chair. My new perfect record was my pride and joy, the one thing that made me feel special in a world where I otherwise felt invisible. Our choir director, Mr. Fish, was a man in his 50s who'd built his entire reputation on our success. He'd been at our school for years, and under his leadership we'd won state competitions, gone on national tours, and earned recognition across the country. The man lived and breathed choir success, and every student's performance was a direct reflection of his teaching ability. Here's something you need to understand about solo and ensemble competitions. Participation wasn't optional. It was mandatory. And not just mandatory, it was make or break for the director's reputation. The number of students who advanced to higher rounds, the scores we received, the recognition we brought to the school, all of it determined whether Mr. Fish looked like a genius or a failure. So when I developed laryngitis the week before our biggest competition of the year, I knew I was in trouble. I woke up that Monday morning and immediately knew something was wrong. My throat felt like I'd swallowed broken glass, and when I tried to hum my usual warm-up exercises, nothing came out but a pathetic croak. By Tuesday, I could barely whisper. By Wednesday, I was completely voiceless. The panic that set in wasn't just about being sick, it was about my perfect record. I'd worked so hard to build this reputation, to be known as the reliable soprano who never let anyone down. The thought of going to competition and bombing because of something out of my control made me physically ill on top of already being sick. I did everything right. I went to the doctor, got official documentation of my laryngitis, and had both my mother and myself send emails to Mr. Fish explaining the situation. I skipped practices, missed evening rehearsals, and desperately tried every home remedy I could find. Honey, tea, steam treatments, complete vocal rest. Nothing worked. Friday morning arrived, competition day. I woke up and did my usual voice check, hoping against hope that maybe, miraculously, my voice had returned overnight. I opened my mouth and tried to sing a simple scale. Nothing. Not even a whisper. My heart sank. I knew what I had to do. I found Mr. Fish's students were loading onto the bus, their instrument cases and sheet music in hand, chattering excitedly about the day ahead. The energy was electric. This was what we'd all been working toward for months. "Mr. Fish," I said, my voice barely a rasp, "I need to talk to you." He looked up from his clipboard, already irritated by the interruption. "What is it?" "We need to get on the bus. I can't perform today. My laryngitis hasn't gotten better, and I literally can't make sound. I've been trying all week, but there's no way I can sing. I expected understanding, maybe disappointment, but at least acknowledgement that this was out of my control. Instead, Mr. Fish looked at me with the coldest expression I'd ever seen. "Just suck on a lozenge," he said, his voice dripping with dismissal. "This is required." Those words hit me like a physical blow. Just suck on a lozenge. As if my medical condition was just a minor inconvenience that could be fixed with candy. As if my years of dedication, my perfect record, my genuine inability to perform meant nothing compared to his need for complete participation. "But Mr. Fish, I literally cannot. Get on the bus," he interrupted, turning away from me. "This is not optional." I stood there for a moment, feeling smaller than I'd ever felt in my life. Every instinct told me to fight back, to refuse, to stand my ground. But I was 16. He was the authority figure, and I'd spent my entire life being the obedient student who never caused problems. So I got on the bus. The ride to the competition was torture. I sat in the back, listening to my classmates run through their pieces, their voices strong and confident. I kept trying to clear my throat, hoping for some miracle that would give me even a fraction of my voice back. Nothing. When we arrived at the competition venue, I could hear the warm-up rooms buzzing with activity. Pianists running scales, vocalists doing breathing exercises, the excited murmur of students preparing for their big moment. I felt like I was walking to my execution. My turn came. I walked onto the stage, my music in hand, and faced the 3 judges sitting behind their table. They looked up at me expectantly, their pens poised over their scoring sheets. The pianist played my introduction. I took a deep breath, opened my mouth, and nothing, absolutely nothing came out. I tried again, pushing air through my vocal cords, desperately attempting to produce even a whisper of sound. The judges looked confused, then concerned, then annoyed. "Are you going to sing?" one of them asked. I tried one more time, my face burning with humiliation. Still nothing. I could see my classmates in the audience, their faces a mixture of pity and secondhand embarrassment. I wanted to dissipate. "I'm sorry," I managed to croak out. "I can't." The judges exchanged glances and made their marks on the scoring sheets. I knew before they even tallied the numbers that this was going to be a disaster. When Mr. Fish handed me my scorecard later, he couldn't even look at me. 16 out of 100. The lowest score I'd ever received in my life. My perfect record. Destroyed. But what made it worse was his reaction. No apology. No acknowledgement that he'd forced me to perform when I was medically unable to do so. Just disappointment and irritation, as if I'd personally betrayed him. That night, lying in bed with my throat still on fire, I felt something I'd never experienced before. Pure, burning rage. Not just anger, rage. The kind that changes you, that makes you realize you're done being a doormat. I was going to make him pay. Junior year arrived, and I threw myself into preparation with an intensity that surprised even me. I practiced for hours every day, worked with a private voice coach, and perfected my technique until I sounded better than I ever had before. The soprano who usually beat me out for solos started placing behind me. Other students began looking at me with newfound respect. I knew this was my year. More importantly, I knew this was my chance for revenge. When solo and ensemble time came around again, I was ready. I walked onto that stage with confidence radiating from every pore, opened my mouth, and delivered the performance of my lifetime. Every note was perfect, every phrase flawless. I could see the judges' faces light up as I sang, could feel the energy in the room shift. When they announced the results, the entire choir erupted in cheers. First chair. I'd won first chair, something no one from our school had achieved in years. Mr. Fish was practically glowing with pride, already calculating how this would look on his record. I let him savor that victory for exactly one day. The next evening, I sat down at my computer and carefully crafted an email. I sent it to Mr. Fish, our assistant choir director, and the solo and ensemble coordinator. The subject line was simple, dropping from first chair. I hit send and walked away from the computer, my heart pounding with anticipation. The house phone started ringing almost immediately. Remember, this was the early 2000s. No cell phones, no texting, just the good old-fashioned landline in the kitchen. "It's Mr. Fish," my mom said, holding out the phone with a confused expression. "He sounds upset." I took the phone, my hands surprisingly steady. "Hello. Hi, this is Mr. Fish." His voice was tight, controlled, but I could hear the underlying panic. "I got your email. I'm sure there's been some misunderstanding. Can you explain what's going on?" "Oh, there's no misunderstanding," I said, my voice calm and sweet. "I'm dropping from first chair." But why? You worked so hard for this. This is a huge honor. You can't just..." "Actually, I can. And I am." There was a long pause. I could practically hear him scrambling for words, trying to figure out how to fix this disaster. "Please," he said finally. "Can you at least tell me why? Help me understand what's changed." And this is the moment I'd been waiting for. The moment I'd been rehearsing in my head for an entire year. "Do you remember last year's solo and ensemble?" I asked, my voice still perfectly pleasant. "Oh, yes." "Do you remember when I told you I was sick and couldn't participate, but you made me do it anyway?" The silence on the other end was deafening. "Do you remember how I humiliated myself in front of the judges because I literally couldn't make sound come out of my mouth?" Yes, but that's why I'm dropping. Have a good night, Mr. Fish." And I hung up. The satisfaction was immediate and overwhelming. For the first time in my life, I had stood up to someone who had wronged me. I had taken my power back. I had shown him that actions have consequences, even if those consequences come a year later. But the real payoff was still to come. 3 weeks later, Mr. Fish announced his retirement. Not at the end of the school year, not after some dignified farewell tour. He was done. He finished out the remainder of the year, but everyone knew he'd been broken by what happened. You see, losing a first chair winner wasn't just embarrassing for him, it was professionally devastating. It showed that he couldn't maintain the loyalty and respect of his top students. It raised questions about his leadership, his judgment, his ability to handle the pressure of competition. I made first chair again senior year under our new director, and you know what? It felt even better the second time. Sometimes the best revenge isn't immediate. It's patient, calculated, and perfectly timed. Mr. Fish taught me an important lesson that day. He forced me to perform while sick. Respect is earned, not demanded. And when you abuse your authority, eventually someone will make you pay for it. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button and tell me in the comments, have you ever had a teacher or authority figure who abused their power? What's the most satisfying revenge you've ever witnessed? And don't forget to subscribe for more stories where justice is served ice cold. Remember, sometimes the best revenge is success. And sometimes it's knowing exactly when to walk away.